Hello and welcome to Elephant Roses. My name is Katie. Today I'm going to teach you how to make lemon loaf cake. It's a great recipe and lots of options with it, lots of different things you can do with it. It does freeze really well. So after you make it, if you want to slice it up, you can put the slices into individual zippy bags, freeze them, take them with you on the go, put them in lunches, take them to work, etc. Or you can just leave it as a whole and then bring it out when you've got company, or just enjoy it for yourself. So I hope you enjoy this recipe. I'm going to give you lots of tips and tricks, especially if you're a new baker. This is a really easy recipe to learn, so don't think you have to be a pro chef or a pro baker or anything like that. It's real easy to do, and I love teaching how to bake things, so this is one of the great things. The recipe will be down in the description box below, and I hope you enjoy this recipe. So let's start. So today you're going to need 3/4 of a cup of sugar, 1 stick of butter, which is a 1/2 cup of butter. You're going to need 4 to 6 tablespoons of bottled lemon juice or a medium lemon from the store. Why the difference? Lemons sometimes are really super expensive. I'm a Midwesterner. I grew up in the Midwest. We can't get lemons year round. So this recipe had to be adaptable for the times of year that I couldn't buy fresh lemons. In this cake batter, if you do get a fresh lemon, you're going to want to zest it. You'll get between 2 and 3 teaspoons of lemon zest for a medium lemon. And you're just going to use all of it. But if you don't have access to fresh lemon, or lemons are super expensive, go with the lemon juice. I know there's a whole big thing about, you should always use fresh lemons and all that. Just use what's in budget. If it's more budget friendly for you to use bottled lemon juice, use that. And again, you need 4 to 6 tablespoons of bottled lemon juice, or 2 to 3 teaspoons fresh lemon zest, which is equal to what you would get in a medium-sized lemon if you zested it. Okay? And why the difference between 4 to 6 tablespoons of bottled lemon juice? It really depends on your family. If they like things really sour, go with 6. If they don't like really sour things, go with the 4. If they're somewhere in the middle, go with 5. My recipes, if you haven't guessed, are really adaptable. And if you're making this for people coming to visit, aka company, as I like to phrase it, and you're not sure if they like things really sour, go with the 4. Just be safe. If you know these people and you know they love sour things, go with the 6. You'll knock their socks off. They'll love this recipe, and it's really easy to make. Next item on the list is 2 eggs beaten. You're going to need 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. You do not need cake flour. Don't buy cake flour. It's really expensive. My recipes, I've adapted all of them not to use cake flour. Cake flour just has extra ingredients like baking powder in it. You can use all-purpose flour. Just be really careful with the recipe, that the person knows what they're doing and they've done the conversion. And if you go on your phone, you can convert a lot of recipes, especially if you're a newbie baker and you're not sure and it calls for cake flour and you don't have it. Go online. You'll find that there's a lot of great vloggers and professional bakers, etc., that have created substitutes for baking flour using all-purpose flour and baking powder. Sometimes they'll use baking soda. I prefer baking powder because it makes the cake poofier and gets more fluffy and airy, and so that's what I do. So you're going to need 1.5 cups again of all-purpose flour, and you're going to need 2 1/4 teaspoons of baking powder. Remember that if you're a new baker, there's a difference between baking soda and baking powder. So make sure you're grabbing baking powder for this. And that's 2 1/4 teaspoons. Optionally, you can have 3/8 of a teaspoon of salt. I don't find any difference in my baking between adding salt or not, hence the reason it's optional. You're going to potentially need a splash of milk, and a splash is equal to a tablespoon. But that's an optional, and I'll explain more as we make the batter why that may be needed. An optional item is 2 to 3 tablespoons of poppy seed. Why is it optional? Poppy seeds are expensive. This tastes perfectly fine without poppy seeds. If you have people in your family that likes poppy seeds and you get a good deal, grab them. I got a good deal on poppy seeds, so hence the reason you're getting poppy seeds today. But this recipe works really good without it. You're also going to need a loaf pan And remember in my last video I talked about you're going to need a butter wrapper. You're going to use this to butter your pan. And you just simply put it in and you just wipe it around. This is all you need to do to butter your pan. We nowadays have almost all non-stick pans here in the United States. I'm not sure how it is in other countries, but I've already pre-buttered this one, so that was just for demonstration. Otherwise, I normally would get all the way around in the corners and the cracks and the everything. Okay, so that's everything we need. So I will grab the mixing bowl and we can start mixing this. So we'll move some of these out of the way that we don't need to begin with. And we'll move that one over there. Okay, so you don't need a fancy stand mixer. You can make this by hand. So if you're on a budget and you don't have a mixer, you're a brand new baker, you don't have a baker, you don't need it. You don't need a stand mixer, you don't need a hand mixer. You want your butter to be at room temperature because as you see, it's very nice to work with. And all this, the shininess that you see, hopefully you can see that on the camera. That's just the residue butter. So then you can use this to butter your pan, or you can just fold it in half like I do and stick them in your fridge for your next baking project. And to this, we're gonna add 3/4 of a cup of sugar. And you're gonna, this is called creaming if you're brand new to baking. And you can do this with a spatula, you can do it with a spoon. I prefer this method. Get in there and push down. And I tend to push into the corners because this is an important step. Why is it important? You'll find in your baking, especially if you're a new baker or if you're a seasoned baker, sometimes people don't think about this. It's really important to get the cream and sugar mixed together because this sugar will melt. The butter melts and this will ooze through your bread. And that's what makes your bread really soft and moist and really buttery. And it tastes really, really good. I have a spoon here to help scrape the scraper off too, because I want to make sure I get all this mixed in really good. I prefer using a rubber scraper. Some people prefer using the back of a spoon. If you're new to baking, you're going to learn that there's all sorts of tips and tricks. If you talk to seasoned bakers, everybody's got their own technique. So don't worry that you're not doing it right. There's no wrong way. So as you can tell, you can do it this way too. Okay, that is really good and mixed in. All right, next we're going to add in our 2 eggs. And I always crack it on the counter. Why? Because I grew up on a farm and there was fresh eggs, and even if you wash the eggs, sometimes there might be something, and I was raised, you always crack it on a counter so that nothing accidentally falls in that. So, and then I usually have a separate bowl, but these are store-bought eggs, so they've been really, really clean, so I don't have to worry. Again, I crack it in here because that helps so that you don't accidentally get eggshell. You can get it out really fast and easy. It also helps so that you can catch a bad egg. And I do have eggshell, I just noticed. And just like that, you can easily just get it right back up. And then plop that guy in. So what kind of lemon desserts do you guys like to eat while I'm whipping this in here? Is there any special things you like that you'd like me to make? There's lemon bars. There's traditional lemon cake. There's lemon bread, lemon cookies, lemon shortbread cookies. You could go on and on. I'd sound like a character in Forrest Gump if I keep talking about lemon. I think some people will know what scene I'm talking about. Lemon's one of those really good ones my family really likes. Lemons always remind me of summer. I have allergies, so sorry my voice sounds kind of funny at times. And again, scrape your spoon. Make sure you're mixing everything in really, really good. At this step, I'm going to scrape my bowl and just make sure it's nice and scraped. How long has everybody been baking? Is anybody new to baking? Any troubles you're having that you would like me to help you with, please drop me a comment down below. I'm glad to jump in and help you. Usually things are pretty easy to figure out once you got somebody else helping. In this day and age, there's not a lot of people that bake anymore in the US. So it's nice to have a community of people that can help you. Next, we're going to add in our lemon juice. I'm putting in 5 today. 5 tablespoons. So again, I explained that already, but I don't have any fresh lemons in the house. I shop every 2 months. I did a video about why I do it that way. And so we just don't have that here currently. Okay, now that's how fast it comes together. Now I'm going to mix, and I like to mix my baking powder in with my flour before I add it. I also highly recommend, if you're a new baker, measure everything out in advance in the bowls. I know it sounds strange, but it does help, because then you're not running through your kitchen going, oh no, I don't have this item. You know right away if you have it or you don't have it. So, and it just folds right in. It's a pretty fast batter. It's amazing how easy it comes together and how few ingredients you need. I know a lot of professionals that came on the scene after, well, Julia Child onwards, in my opinion, complicated things. I prefer recipes from before World War II. Even the World War II recipes were phenomenal, because they were simple recipes that you could just use a few simple ingredients, and voila, you had something really nourishing and flavorful and great. I am famous for, I love to find church cookbooks, especially Midwestern ones, because the ladies in the Midwest, they really didn't have grocery stores and that kind of thing to help them. Grocery stores were far and few between for a lot of them, so they made do with a lot of simple things that were easy to find. So I'm going to need to grab my milk really quick, and I'll come back and show you why we need some milk. So when you are making this, you need to check your batter after everything's in before you add your optional thing. This is too thick. I'm going to try and hold it up. This is way, way too thick. Okay? So you're supposed to have a dropping consistency. What does dropping mean for those newbies? It's when your batter should fall off the spoon easily. This, I'm having to shake it off. So that means it's way too thick. Okay? So I grabbed 2 tablespoons of milk. I think I only need half of this amount of milk to get it. But just add a splash of milk, aka a tablespoon of milk at a time. And just pour it in gently and then fold. And you don't always need to add the milk. The milk is optional. If you wanted, you could add just a little bit more lemon juice instead. I prefer milk. That's still too thick, so we're going to need just a little more. So I put another about half a tablespoon in. It depends on the weather, too, and your climate, your altitude, etc. That's why there's no guaranteed set method to do this. You want it just a little bit more, so I'm going to need all 2 tablespoons, which means 2 splashes of milk. I'm going to scrape this off while I've got a chance. Currently in the Northeast, we're supposed to be over 100 degrees today, so that is messing with the baking.
So don't write down to always add milk, because the next time you make this, depending on the weather and all the other factors, you may not need it. And that is exactly what you want. So this is called dropping. So you just want it to nice and gently. Okay. So I'm going to scrape everything off. And now we can add the poppy seeds in, because I'm going to have poppy seeds in ours. And if you make it too runny, it's okay. It just will take a little longer to bake, but try not to pour all the milk in at once. Just pour a little splash, a tablespoon at a time, which is called a splash. I'm not sure why the older generations are calling it a splash of this, a splash of that, but they did. And then I'll add my poppy seeds. Okay. Now, so great resources while I'm pouring this into the pan for old recipes besides church cookbooks. If you go to like archive.org, if you've never heard of that, it's a site where you can find a lot of things. Some of the things, it's usually library archives that post things, colleges, universities, etc. It's free. You can make an account and then check out things like you would at a digital library. So there you can check out books and magazines and such. One of my favorite things to go through is the old McCall's magazines from before World War II. They are chock full of recipes. I work in digital advertising, so I love looking at the old ads too. And some of the old ads are just phenomenal. You will find old Crisco ads, and there's some phenomenal recipes with the old Crisco ads. Cereals. Cereal boxes used to have a lot of really good recipes. We don't buy cereal here, so I don't know if modern cereal boxes have really good ones or not. I rarely buy cornflakes for bars. I have some cereal bars. They're peanut butter cereal bars that we use when we travel. We're going to pop this in the oven. You're going to put this in a 375-degree oven, and I say start watching it about 35 minutes in. You don't want to overbake. I know that there's a lot of people out there that think, well, you got to stick a toothpick in and it's got to come out completely clean. Do not do that. It is overbaked. You stick a toothpick in, a fork, whatever. You want crumbs to stick. And when you take those crumbs in your fingers and you squish it together, it should be flat. It should just squish flat. Why is that so important? When it comes out of that oven, it is still baking. It is still 375 degrees. It is still going to bake the whole time it's cooling out of the oven. And you don't want it to overbake. So it's going to continue to bake. So you want it that squishy consistency. You don't want it runny. And I'll show you how to check with the crumbs. You want it so that it's squishy. With your fingertips, and then when it comes out, it's going to be the softest, moistest cake. So I'm going to put this in to bake, and I will jump to the next shot where I'm going to teach you how to tell if it's baked or not baked. So I hope you enjoy this, and I will really appreciate comment, tell me what you want for recipes, because that really helps me prep for the next video. So thank you. And mine just came out of the oven, and I cut a little square out of the top so I could show you what I was talking about. So when you pull it out, you want to take your cake. And my family's not going to care that I did this. This is my big pet peeve. Okay? So I'm going to hold this up, and hopefully you can see this. This is your cake. You want it to squish like this. Okay? You want it just to get squishy. And the reason for that, I'm going to push some of this back down in. The reason for that is that when your cake is still cooking, it's still 375 degrees. That's why I put stuff back here, so it could still have its little heat of it. It's going to be a little golden brown. You're going to see a pull away from the edges, just barely. But you want that squishy. because if you wait till this comes out clean, it's not going to have this, and it's not like this. You're going to pull it out clean. Like they keep telling you, this is my biggest pet peeve, is your cake's already done, but yet it's not cold. If your fork comes out clean, you've overbaked. You want it to be this squishiness. You want it to squish in your fingers. It's baked. It's perfectly fine, and you could serve it like this. But now it's going to cool, and it's going to finish baking. And when it's completely cold, I'll stick a fork in, and I'll show you. You can pull it out, and it's perfectly clean. Like it's like they do when they pull it out of the oven. They're like, wait till it, no, it's overbaked. Because what happens then, if you wait till the toothpick comes out clean and then you let it cool afterwards, it's going to be the driest thing ever. You ever bite into something that's really dry for cake and you're like, why? That's because they overbaked it before they let it cool. This way, with that squishiness, that's all over my fingers now, it will cool. And when it cools, it'll finish doing that baking. And don't worry about the hole it cut in the top. My family's not going to care. They'll still eat it. And you can see I poked a hole back here to make sure it was right before I pulled it out. And then I cut the hole so I could show you guys what I was doing. It's currently sitting on my crocheted pot holder. If you want to know how to make pot holders like this that also work as a trivet, let me know. I'll make a video on it. But right now, I'm going to leave mine to cool. I will come back. All the holes don't matter because I'm going to show you we're going to put more holes in it. So that's the other reason this is beginner friendly, because when we're getting ready to put the glaze on, which is the next step, we're putting holes all over. So if you have to check it 10 times, it's not going to hurt it, because you'll just have to make less holes when it's cold. You'll see in a second. But yeah, hopefully that helps. That is my big pet peeve with baking, people over baking cakes. I make really good cakes. They're really moist. But we're gonna now make the glaze that goes on top of the lemon cake. As you saw, mine really sunk because I cut a hole, but that's okay. So this is the first time I'm trying this, so we'll see how well this goes. So in the frying pan, you're gonna warm up 2 to 3 tablespoons of lemon juice with a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, okay? Whoops, not all of mine came out of the bowl. Okay. And you want it on a medium-low temperature. This is my my convection top. It's induction, so it's pretty quick at how quickly it can cook things. So I have to watch it close. I grabbed the fork I used to check the cake, and apparently it had a few poppy seeds on it, so we'll just pull those out. It's not important. What we're looking for with this, which is really hard to tell, is there is, and I'll hold it up to the camera right now. When you look, can you see all the granules of sugar still there? We need to form this so that those granules dissolve. The goal here is just to get it so that you don't see those sugar granules, which is right there. You don't want it to boil, because you can see it starting to boil. There's a few on this side that I need to mix in a little bit, but then once you mix it in, you don't see them. Okay, so now we're going to slide that out of the way. Excuse the fan, it has to cool down before I can shut it off. And then you're going to just go in and very carefully poke some holes in your cake. Okay? You can put as many or as few as you like, but these are going to allow the syrup to go down into the cake, okay? Now, heaven forbid that you overbake this thing, okay? Let's say that, by the way, when you see it come out, it's perfectly clean, even with the sugar on the fork. If you pull it out and it's already toothpick clean, when you pull it out of your oven, you're going to make this syrup really quickly. That is going to be your saving grace. That's how you're going to save this thing. You're going to make the syrup, you're going to poke holes, and you're going to pour it on. While it cools, that dried out cake is going to soak up this simple syrup, and it's going to make it taste really good. If you don't like all the holes in the top when you're done, you can make some frosting and put on top. Just make a simple frosting and lemon frosting and just put over the top, and it'll be a lemon cake and nobody will know that you've got holes here. I don't mind the holes. My company never has. Nobody's ever complained. Normally, I don't have this hole. I made that on purpose. But that's normally you will have a nice flat cake and you can make nice pretty holes all the way across. And I'll be right back. I'm going to put some water in this because that's the other thing, is make sure that when you're done putting the syrup on top of the cake, put the pan in some water. Put some cold water in it really fast. It is a simple sugar. It will dry like concrete in your pan. You want to be really careful with it. Once it's done, let it sit like this for about a half hour and then cut it. It needs about a half hour to marinate and for this simple syrup to soak into the cake, and it'll make it super moist. Obviously, this is a step you can skip. If you don't want the simple syrup, you don't want the extra sugar, leave it off. You can just slice it and cut it as is. It's a nice treat for once in the day, or if you've got company, it's just something extra nice to have. So that's why I always recommend doing that. So I will be back as soon as this cools, and I'll cut it and you can see the final product. So after 30 minutes, this is what you're gonna get. You're gonna get 8 slices that are, I'm gonna tip it so you can see, about that thick, and like this when you cut the loaf into 8 pieces. It is fairly moist and soft, as you can tell. It's not crumbly. And it's a perfect piece of cake. It's great to have with tea and share with friends when they come to visit, company, etc. It freezes great. It's just simple steps, simple ingredients. Thank you for watching. I'm going to leave the recipe in the description box below. Please leave me comment below with anything you'd like to know. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.